Hello, America, and welcome to America at Play. I'm your host, Butch Cons, and with me tonight is my co-host, journalist, Miami committee woman, and busy mom, Angie Wong. And our special guest tonight is the fiery redhead Irish girl that can smell BS from miles away, and my better half, my wife, Eileen Cons. We're here tonight to talk politics and drink whiskey and bourbon. Now, before we get started tonight, I'd like to plug the real Veterans for America First, which all three on this panel are involved in. Angie is the president of the Florida chapter. Eileen is a board member on both the national chapter and the North Carolina chapter, and I am the national president. We have a program called Save a Vet with a Pet, where we raise funds through sponsors to pay to have dogs trained in the basics. We rescue the dogs from shelters who would otherwise be euthanized, have them trained, and then give them to veterans who suffer from such things as PTSD as a companion pet. This program costs the veterans absolutely nothing. It's free to them. To learn more about the program, go to our website, which is streaming below, www.veteransforamericafirst.com. Ladies, let's start tonight out with talking about the Trump tariffs. Angie, you've been on this a lot on television and through the journalism stuff you're doing. You start us out with this. What's your thoughts on this?
You know, my thoughts are ever changing on this, but it keeps going back. I have new waves of thoughts all the time on this. At first, I was telling a television audience, look, if you've turned on your television for the last 4 years, Trump has been talking about Trump tariffs, right? He wants to get rid of free trade and have fair trade for all of us. And that's what he's been talking about. So I've been listening all these years during the campaign trail. So I'm not surprised one bit by any of the news that have come down. Now, what was really interesting is when I was doing news in the UK, one of the big presenters there said, look, even like members of Sir Keir Starmer's cabinet, they didn't even get heads up. So the own prime minister of England didn't you get heads up on what the tariffs were going to be for England. They kept pressing pause on the television every time Trump would hold up the big board to see how much they were going to get tariffed. That's how he plays. And I spent a lot of time this week defending President Trump. And my new thoughts on all of this now is that we are going through a moment of kabuki theater. I really believe that because we know Trump, we know how he plays, and we all also know a little bit about geopolitics, right? So one of the early observations I made was the first to fold, the first countries to say zero tariffs, right? So no reciprocal tariffs for US and the receiving country was Mexico and Canada. And I'm thinking to myself, is that a backdoor way for other countries to basically make shipments to the US? 100%. And then I thought to myself today, when China came back at a retaliatory, 50% tariff on top of everything else that we have because we're in a trade war with China. And then Trump goes, well, 104% tariffs. This is all kabuki theater, you guys. I don't know if you've realized this. I really, you have to know a little bit of history to say that, right? We know that President Xi of China went to Mar-a-Lago back during the first Trump administration, and they were negotiating a bunch of stuff. They're not that they're friends, and certainly we're not in a friendly environment with China, but they talk, right? So I wonder what this is about. So like my brain is going a million miles an hour. So we have this backdoor method through Mexico and through Canada to bring in foreign goods if they wanted to do that, right? And that happens a lot. It's called tariff circumvention. This happens every day already for various products. That's why I think when the EU is saying things like, "Yeah, we'll play your game. Okay, we'll go zero tariff with you," and same thing with the UK. Yeah, we're gonna work out something. It's to appease Trump because what he did by saying, "I'm just going to, you know, raise the tariff on everybody." No one was left off the table there. He is doing classic art of the deal Trump. He's saying, let's throw out the most extreme net out there just to see how the other side reacts. And then we have all the playing cards. And he knows he's got all the leverage in the world to do this because America, we are, and Americans, we are the largest consumer base for anybody. Every market wants to feed to us and wants to give us stuff and sell us stuff. So he knows he's holding all the cards. Um, my last thoughts on this would be that even though stocks are they're okay today, but even though they're down on the whole, what we're looking at in the next few weeks, months, will be that the bond market jumps up and our interest rates, especially mortgage rates, will dip, which will lead to home sales. Real estate will be on fire. And remember, this is Trump, his whole family, his friends, all his donors, everybody's in real estate. What happens is when people are starting to pick up more and more real estate because the interest rates are so cheap in a few months' time, he's going to get rid of capital gains tax. Now everyone's going to make a
Yeah,
lot of money.
he announced that today.
If that's what's going to happen, you guys, this might be one of the best gold rushes we'll ever see in our lifetime. So anyone who's cash ready and knows what he's doing and knows how to play this game, you're going to make off very, very well. That's my last thought.
Eileen, what's your take on
I
it?
like her thoughts. I love your thoughts. I mean, a total different perspective than I've been thinking, but wow, you've hit some really great points there. So I love your thoughts. My thoughts are, we have made other people's middle class a middle class. Other countries have, we've aided their middle class, but we have no middle class. Why? Because we're not making our own products. We don't need anybody. We do. We do need trade. I mean, trade's always, healthy, global economy, but we don't need them. We really need to get back to our own dimension here in the United States and find our middle class again. I guess the question is will our lower class raise themselves up to be middle class? Because you talk about the disparity between the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. We have no middle class any longer. Are we gonna get there? That's like a question. I have no idea how we will work as a team going forward, especially after COVID when nobody wants to work.
I have a thought about that, Eileen. And again, if Trump is true to his word, and he is, and what he's looking to do right now with all the audits, all the Doge, all the finding money, the waste, fraud, abuse stuff, all of that, and also trying to take care of our ever-growing debt, right? All of that, what he wants to do when he leaves in 4 years' time, and if he leaves, but hopefully, like if he's
So that's for another topic,
right?
Another discussion.
He's trying to get rid of all income taxes for those who earn 150,000 or below. Why?
Well, I thought it would be about 50,000 or below.
Right. And a lot of it is because if we do all those things and we bring back American manufacturing, all of those things, you got to remember, and this is where the kabuki theater comes in. It's not necessarily going to equate to American jobs. Right now, what we have and what the new factories look like, and you can look this up, they're called dark factories. They are factories that make things 24 hours a day. And these factories don't have lights. Why? Because they don't have people.
Robotic.
There's no one
They're
working.
robotic.
They're all AI robots. They are producing
Yep.
this 24 hours a day. They don't require lights. That's why they're called dark factories. That's what's really happening. Now, to get rid of taxes, personal taxes for those making 150,000, that's how they're going to survive. Because 150,000 today is maybe middle class, right?
Mm.
given how inflation is and where we are, you can live comfortably, but you're not going to be wealthy at $150,000. And certainly going forward, I think I think Trump's taken a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's taken a little bit of Andrew Yang as well, with like understanding, like, if we're going to move all towards AI, robotics, less manual labor. Look, your kids and my kids, I don't think they're going to be pattern makers. They're not going to be sewing at a factory. That's not what American kids are. I'm sorry. I know that sounds elitist, but think about it. That's not what they're going to be doing. They're not going to be making, Levi's jeans on the cheap, or, Old Navy selling shirts for $9.99. That's not what our
But they
kids are
do
doing. They
want
can't.
to make, but he does want them making chips. I mean, so that's why we're bringing all of those electronic programs back here. Correct?
And that's the problem. We have to make these semiconductors. We have to. Every single thing that we have in our household relies on these chips. Here's the problem. When the trade war started with China last week, China was the first to yank, or rather portion control, 7 of the rare earth minerals. Well, I'm not going to name them because I can't even pronounce them, but I'll tell you, these minerals is the building blocks of what are in those chips. So we're crippled in a way unless we can find another supplier. And this is what goes back to that White House Oval Office meeting with Zelensky. Zelensky was taunting these rare earth minerals, knowing the Kabuki theater that we're all watching right now. Do you get it now? It all weaves in together. I'm not smart enough to put together all the pieces. I can just see what I see, and I hear the keywords. Oh, rare minerals. Okay, Zelensky. Why is he behaving like a child? Oh, because he has leverage. Oh, because China's going to do this. And so that's where we are.
Angie, before I forget, before I get into this, you were spot on, but you missed one thing. There is one industry in the United States that if you make around $150,000, you can become wealthy, and that's by being a politician. Because they make $150,000, $200,000, and they're worth 40, 50, 60, $80 million. So
I know.
You miss the boat there a little bit, but that's
yeah.
okay.
Too pure, way too pure.
Here's the one thing that I think everything's been hit on where the tariffs are concerned. There's two things that Trump has forced on this that haven't been brought up. Number one, by having no tariffs, okay, it allows us to compete in other regions of the world at a fair, even keel. We're not getting charged a 100% tariff shipping our cars off to some of these countries. All right. That's number one. Number two, I believe I'm with you on the factories. Okay. But the one industry I think that you're not going to get that on, and it is going to help a lot, and I'm from Detroit, is the auto industry. And that 25 years ago, people on the line were making $80,000 a year. Back 25 years ago. So that's where I think you will see a difference as far as bringing jobs to the U.S., especially in the auto industry. And as you girls were talking, or ladies, sorry, the chips, the computer chips. That's a good one to do. So that's my 2 cents worth on it.
Well, Butch, I have a question for you. Those parts that go into my Cadillac or into a GMC, are they all made in America?
No, they're not. That's part of what he's talking about bringing back. So they are made in America. Many of them, quite frankly, are made in Canada, especially where General Motors is concerned. Okay, there are large factories. Being from Detroit, Windsor's right across the river. There's a large Chrysler factory there. There's a large Ford factory there in Woodstock. There's a large GM factory just in Ontario. I'm sure that's not the only ones in Canada, but a lot of those parts come from Canada.
I was wondering about that. I was worried actually a lot about that.
Eileen and I were talking about this earlier today. You know, I own a company called Revolution Oil. And when I've had to ship product into Canada, the tariff going across the border was insane. And there were times where it was double what the actual product cost. So we'd send, you know, $5,000 worth of product over, and we'd get a tariff bill for $12,000. So it's pretty outrageous in Canada. So I like the fact that he's, you know, sticking it to him a little bit and making him come to the table. So
our opinion on this has changed so much from the last time that we all had this podcast going on. I think we've all grown in different ways. I mean, in thought processes and whatnot. And you're right, Angie. You hear these keywords that are happening. You know, you saw Zelensky acting like a child, which we talked about when we were all together in this podcast. And, you know, we know about the rare earth minerals, and we, you know, hear all these little keywords. And as everything goes along, and I haven't been paying a hard attention to it, just by different things happening in the world here in this house. But yeah, I mean, I want to revisit this in a couple of weeks to see where we are in leaps and bounds and structure, where we're going. Again, I believe in the president. I voted for the president. The man he's got brilliant people surrounding him. I think he's a great leader. So I think that he takes all these bits and pieces and this information that he's getting from all of his soldiers, generals, you know, cabinet, you know, whatever you want to put it. And he's making the best of the best decisions. And there is so much that is going on that we don't know. You know, I mean, that's really go ahead.
Ladies, remember one thing. We are inside 100 days. And this president has made more changes in under 100 days than probably any president in my lifetime has made in 4 years. Now, that being said, yes, you've got especially the liberals running around hollering like the chicken with their head cut off that the sky is falling in. Okay, like Chicken Little, the sky is falling in. I will tell you right now, and it's already happening. Okay, I saw on the news today where they said over 60 countries so far have contacted the White House to talk about no tariffs and eliminating all tariffs. Over 60. And that's in the first 3 days?
Yeah, but Butch, understand, a lot of them were already our allies, already making deals prior to the president even getting into the White House. And that's what I have to, you know, like I look at propaganda, and I report a lot about liberal propaganda, but we do it too. The conservatives, the Republicans, we also do it. So I hear that number is like, oh, it sounds great. But then when you look at the list, they're already our friend. South Korea is our friend. Taiwan's our friend. India is one of our best allies, right? Vietnam. And something struck me when Vietnam kind of caved in and said zero tariffs. Well, this worries me. And this is what brought me to the whole idea today of Kabuki theater, which is, and I don't know the number and percentage of it, but a lot of the Vietnamese factories that we're going to be buying zero tariffs from, well, they're Chinese owned, you know? Same thing with Pakistan. A lot of our medical supplies that are Chinese made go through Pakistan before it gets circumvented all over the world. So, you know, we know this, and I'm nobody. I'm not a global trader. I'm not even, you know, my specialty is not even in trade or tariffs. And if a little housewife in Miami knows this, they know a lot more, as Eileen said, and they know a lot of what they're doing. So this is where, you know, it's Kabuki theater for us Americans, you know, and we feel good because we're going to bring back manufacturing. We're going to bring back jobs. We're going to strengthen the US dollar. We're going to bring national security. Great talking points. But people are making money left and right behind us. That's what's really happening. And I think that's why I say Kabuki.
That's how the economy rolls is you got to make money.
Yeah.
To bring it down to the hit and miss people, to bring it down to, let's say, the typical North Carolina farmer, the pig farmer. Let's talk about him. You know, we've got pigs all over the state. They're growing pigs. They're fattening these pigs up. These pigs get slaughtered. They get shipped over to China. They get cut up and they get shipped back at a higher tariff. So I think that
Wow.
they need to, right, because we're shipping over
That's
there for a
factual.
lower.
Yeah.
Well,
So
how does
we
that
need
work?
and it does
Yeah.
reflect in jobs. It does reflect in how is the, you know, the poor, the lower class. I don't want to say that it's a terrible term to use, but how do they fit into that, become the middle class? Because that does translate to a job when you can butcher that pig here in North Carolina and not ship it over to China and have it chopped up and then brought back here in nice styrofoam packages.
Yeah, and I think that's what that is. You just said the quiet part out loud. That's not what Trump is saying, right? It's all about the messaging. It feels good that American jobs are coming back. It feels good that we're going to be pro America, America first, all those great things. What does it actually mean for the working class? He hasn't explained that to you or I have. I mean, have you heard him talk about it? Because I haven't heard it. All I'm hearing, and you know, I'm a big MAGA fan. I'm a big fan of Trump. But I will say the stock market dipping, Black Monday, people were buying. Lots of people were buying. The bond market was on fire. People were making money on that. And a lot of it is probably his donors. I don't mind because they helped him into office. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, lots of layers. But no, I haven't really heard a plan for the working class yet, other than, oh, we're going to, you know, cut your taxes to zero eventually for those who make 150,000 or under. I haven't heard an actual plan of how they're going to get jobs back. I haven't heard state governors entice the manufacturing plants to open up in their states and give incentives. I haven't seen that part yet. That's why I don't know what happens to them.
And let's not forget that when it comes to draining the swamp in DC, how does the swamp get fed in DC? It gets fed by the swamp in North Carolina, the swamp in Florida, the swamp in, you know, in all the states in between you and I. And what those folks are doing. Those are they're the ones that are getting rich. Like Butch said at the beginning of the show here, who can make $165,000 become a millionaire. It's the swampers that are in our own states. So in our state, we've got politicians who are earning money on the pig being grown here, fattened up here, sent over to China, and then the tariff comes back. I mean, so he's making money. I mean, it is definitely over my head at this point, and I'm trying to listen intently with what people are saying, people that are smarter than me, like you, who are, you know, giving me a different perspective on this. Yes. You know,
I like just to be contrarian, but no, I hear what you're saying. And you're right. I had no idea the pigs were getting shipped back and forth and back and forth. Like, how does that make any sense?
Well, let me give you an example of what's going on here in North Carolina, Angie. We've got a Republican senator named Tom Tillis. Okay. In my opinion, the guy's a dirtbag, and I hope he gets primaried. Okay. But
sounds like he is.
This guy.
Can we tone that down just a little?
What I'm about to say is not hearsay. He was on the take when they put in the toll roads going in through into Charlotte. Okay. Him and Pat McCrory, who at the time was the governor, and McCrory lost his election by less than 1,000 votes, getting reelected because of it. Now we have Hurricane Helene, and we find out that the company that's up there pushing tiny homes to replace these homes and stuff so people aren't living in tents.
Yeah.
Guess who has a stake in it?
Oh,
Senator
come
Tom
on.
Tillis. Swear to God. Yeah, exactly. That's just one example from here in North Carolina.
And he was pushing out the Amish who were making tiny homes and just giving them to people. And they put all these restrictions and all these, whatever on these Amish who were trying to give these homes away for free.
Oh my goodness. It
sorry
gets
to cut you off,
dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. I'm sorry to cut you off earlier, Eileen. So you know who's putting some speed bumps into the Trump tariffs? Well, it's Congress, right?
Yeah.
And now we're hearing up to a dozen members of Congress wants President Trump to put this onto the floor for a vote because they don't want executive orders like this. Why?
Right.
Because guess who finances all these congressional races, right? So, and
Yep.
lobbyists and the whole DC machine, right? It's going to be sugar, agriculture, soybean, corn, whatever we make. I mean,
Yep.
that's who's funding
Yep.
all these races.
Yeah.
Funny.
Listen, if you look at that 10 or 12 congressmen that are pushing back, they're all the rhinos. They're the people that have been in there for decades. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what he's trying to clean up. They're the swamp monsters. He's not getting
Oh,
feedback from the younger ones. He's getting feedback. He's getting pushback from the old farts, to put it very bluntly.
yeah. Let's
So
see who wins this one. I do worry about
my
one
money's on
thing.
Trump. My money's on
Me
Trump.
too. Listen. I'm in real estate, so yeah,
Mhm.
all in. But I am a little bit worried because, if I am wrong and this is not just all theater, the world hates us right now because
Yeah.
they hate change, right? These are the new
Right.
rules of engagement. He laid it out. He's saying adjust or die, adapt or
Mhm.
die, right? And so
Well,
you're starting to see countries like realizing what's going on. But we've made a lot of enemies for sure.
it's not just change that they hate, though, Angie. Okay, they've been screwing us forever, and that's the change that they hate. Now all of a sudden, it's going to be an even playing field, and they don't like that
Well, they
because
can't compete.
they can't compete. I was just going to say they cannot compete. Let's face it, auto industry. If there's no tariffs, the U.S. wins that hands down. There's some good auto industry or auto companies around the world, but when you're on an even keel and you don't have these huge tariffs, all of
Yeah.
a sudden the auto industry, isn't so competitive.
Well, I think some of the problem there, which I think is going to be a problem down the road, is let's take Bombardier for a moment. Back in 2016, they were making the C-100 plane jet, one of the whatever Learjet, C-100 jet, can't remember which one it is. And I remember that they were getting subsidies from Canada, and they were selling their jet here in the United States at $19 million when it was costing Boeing $33 million to build the jet. But because they were getting the subsidies from their own country, they were able to sell it here. Is that going to happen? I mean, is that going to happen in the future? I mean, that's a question that how does that affect us? It will affect our job market for these very people that were trying to say, okay, no taxes if you're make $150,000 a year, no taxes if, for whatever reason. Are we thinking far enough ahead to not repeat history?
Hmm.
And I only know that because I worked for Bombardier at one point in time. So.
No, I'm really curious in that as well. I mean, there's a few market concerns. Clearly, Americans consume a whole lot more than we can make. We're not set up to make all those goods. Most Americans will shop at like a Walmart or a Target or Amazon. Well, where do you think all that stuff was made? Right? I have a good friend in Georgia who was the head of Oshkosh Bagosh that makes children's clothing.
Yep.
He wrote to me. He goes, "This completely decimated my entire industry. Why? Because are you now going to be paying $70 for a pair of baby pants?" Right? Because that's how much it's going to cost to make it American. And he said that to me. He gave me the rundown. Right now, he makes all his stuff, I think, in Cambodia or various places, southern China, Cambodia, Vietnam, etc. It costs him for a baby outfit $3.90, including shipping to the US, right? The whole shebang. So he can then sell it to you for $15, $19.99, whatever it is. For him to make the same exact product, he estimated it at $32 for an American made side by side. So I think about that. And I think about the fact that we haven't had American talent and training for a very long time. So it's going to take a little time to, catch up. I think we're smart people. We'll figure it out. But it's different. Our consumption levels will really drop. And I think we're going to start seeing that very, very soon. And we're going to be old Europe if we're not careful, is what I'm worried about. I don't mind it. I love the cheese. I love the culture, but you understand what I'm getting at, right? I will then think about that one pair of shoes I'm going to buy rather than having all this fast fashion. We call it fast fashion because we wear it a couple of times, we throw it away, or we keep going shopping because it's so cheap and I can wear that outfit once or twice and then I don't care, right? That goes away now. Now you go for kind of more well-made things because it costs so much. I think, if that's the trend. But so those things are big questions on my mind. I mean, it changes.
There's a lot of big questions with this tariff. There's a lot of big questions with the tariff stuff. And time will tell. That's where it comes down to. Ladies, let's go on to the next subject. Let's talk about the Supreme Court ruling of the U.S. District Courts overreaching their authority. Thank God somebody finally stepped in, meaning the U.S. Supreme Court. We've talked about it in the past, and you've got these U.S. district courts, and I'll take forget the guy's name in Washington, D.C., that wanted to turn a plane around that left Texas. And my argument from the get-go was, what is a guy in D.C.? He's a district court. D.C.'s his district. Texas is not. Well, thank God the U.S. Supreme Court finally came out and said exactly that. That's not your district. You have no business putting your nose into it. Eileen, what's your thought on that?
I'm going to make it short and sweet. I think that it is a big slap on the knuckles to every district court across the nation. Stay in your own lane. You shouldn't be making policy. You shouldn't be influencing policy. You're cancer if you think that you are. Whatever happens in Texas, damn it, that you were elected in Texas. You weren't elected in North Carolina. You weren't elected in Washington, D.C. So I think that it stops this lower court. I think that I take myself more seriously than my job type judges. I think it stops them all across the board on all sorts of topics.
The one thing it also does is it keeps, especially like the ACLU and these liberal groups, from shopping judges. They can no longer go get a judge in California for a case out of Minnesota because it's out of their district. And that's the one part of this decision by the Supreme Court that the media is, including Fox, who I love, is completely missing. Okay, they're all about, well, Trump won a big one. Yeah, he did. But the biggest thing he won is people cannot shop judges anymore. If it's in Washington, D.C., it's got to be brought in Washington, D.C. If it's in Michigan, it's got to be brought in Michigan. Can't be brought up in Oregon. Can't be brought up in Seattle. It's got to be brought up where it's at. Angie, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh boy. No, when I read the decision 5-4, I just went, okay, this is pretty good. I mean, it looked good because it looked like a Trump win and it looked like a win for the, closing and protecting our borders. But when you actually read it, basically the ACLU, the plaintiff, was called out on a technicality. And even the judge just says, well, you can refile. You just have to refile from Texas. Right. So we know how that game works and they're going to do it. But this is what the ACLU does. They find 5 plaintiffs, calls it a class action, and pushes on through something. These migrants, are they even allowed to file? I don't even know. I mean, if they're not Americans, what are they doing filing to begin with? But this is a classic Democrat move. Now, all they did was try to delay it a little bit. Luckily, it only got delayed, by a week, 2 weeks? So if that's what they think they're going to do going forward, is just to cause like court delays, well, it's not going to work. So that was a nice tell sign. Amy Cohen Barrett, she got a lot of slack and heat for voting the other way. She broke from her conservative ranks, but I actually kind of side with her because she just followed the law. She just applied the law. I mean, she just said, "Look, wrong venue, wrong jurisdiction." So no, I can't agree with it. So I think, let's not give her too much hate as much as you want to. That's fine. But she was just following it by the books. Ultimately, I think that we are wasting time. We are wasting time, energy, and money fighting the other side or whoever in courts, because these are laws that are already in the books. These are immigration laws that have been there since World War II. Remember, he pulled out the Alien, the Alien Protection Act. I forget that if that's the exact name. That's what they were arguing. They were saying, well, this is such an old law. It's not used anymore. Who cares?
But it's still there.
On the books.
It's still on the books.
Yep.
Right.
1784. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
why is it that we have to fight to enforce our own laws? It's already there. The only reason is because the Biden administration didn't use it for 4 years.
On top of that, Angie, to add to what you're saying, and you brought it up a minute ago, are they even allowed to file? Here's an argument that surprisingly has never been brought up by either side. If you come to this country illegally, I don't care if you're a terrorist or a gang member or not, if you're here illegally, how does that give you our constitutional rights? You're not here legally. You're here illegally. You're not even supposed to be here. So how in the hell do you fall under our Constitution?
I think they are protected under certain immigration under that letter. But I'm not an immigration lawyer, obviously. They are protected a little bit. But
if they have a green card, if they have a working permit, okay, a working visa, you're right. But I'm talking the ones that are here illegally.
Well, there was a whole list. There was a list last week that they were saying, because that question came up on several shows that I had seen, and there was a list that there were 5 or 6 things that they do have protection under in when they illegal or not coming into the country. I don't agree with it, and I wish, had we known that I was going to talk about this, I would have gone back to find it, and it was disappointing. But they do not have to have a green card to have protection under the laws.
That needs to be changed. That has to be taken away, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
Oh, let's find some good lawmakers to change that. Let's see if we can get some good guys in during the midterms. Yeah. I mean, look, they're good people in now, but look, it's a mess.
It is
so messy.
Let's go to the next one, ladies. This one shouldn't take long. The Russian-Ukraine war. What in that is going on with the Russian-Ukraine war? I'll go first. My opinion is Trump wants to end it. Trump said he would end it. I don't think that either side, Ukraine or Russia, wants to end it. Consequently, I don't believe it's going to end until Ukraine no longer exists. That's my opinion, because Russia's not going to lose this to Ukraine with our weapons or without them. Angie, what's your thought on it?
I think you have Zelensky, who is addicted to war, and I think he's playing a very, very dangerous game. He knows he's got some cards. He knows that he's got the EU behind him and a few others, and that's what he's grasping at. He also understands that Ukraine hasn't had an election. He's way past his term, that if they did have another election, he may not be in power anymore, right?
Correct.
So he's doing this for himself. He's enriching himself. And he's being taught how to do it by, I believe, globalists. That's my opinion. Whereas you will never want to underestimate Putin. You just don't. And Trump doesn't want to play with Putin because Trump also, you can see there's a little bit of, not a little bit, there's a lot of hesitancy with playing around with Putin. Putin and Russia was left off the tariffs list. Granted, we have sanctions against the country, so that could be one of the reasons. But there's something very strange going on there. There's a bigger world war that could brew up if this is not done right. So much of this is tied to oil money and other countries' interests that it actually has to be handled very, very delicately. Marco Rubio was thrown everything and the kitchen sink when he took on the job as Secretary of State to solve all of the world's problems all at once. This one is a humongous one. And I think as long as Zelensky is in power, you're never going to see the end of war. That's my opinion.
I agree with you on that. And if you look at, and Poland has come out and said this, that a lot of the money that was given by the Biden administration was funneled back. He kept a bunch, meaning Zelensky, and there was a bunch funneled back to the Democrats. And that's been brought up by more than one European country, Poland being the most boisterous on that. Eileen, what's your thoughts on this?
Guys, you have said everything that I would say. I don't really have any additional added value into this conversation because you're spot on, both of you, with everything.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Eileen, do you think this war is going to be over this year? Do you think Trump is sitting on the news that money was being funneled possibly to the DNC? Do you think he's waiting for the midterms to blow that up? What do you think is going to happen there?
Good point about waiting for the midterms to blow that up.
I only think about elections.
Yeah. I mean, that's a strong possibility, which I would like to see that if it did happen, I mean, that would really be impactful on the elections at midterms this year. I don't think that it's going to end. I don't think Zelensky wants it to end. I agree with you that he has gotten money. He has benefited from this. His wife has this, beautiful bulletproof Bentley that she drives around in. And, people are just sick of it. He doesn't have any kind of his approval ratings in his own country are at the lowest that they've ever been, below 20%. I don't think that he could survive an election. I think they go for 5 years and he's a year and some change out from election. He'll never be elected again.
Actually, he's a year over. The election should have been a year ago. He's already over by a year. Yep.
He's overstayed his visa. I mean,
and if there is an election, is it really going to be a Ukrainian winning it, or is Russia going to throw somebody in there in the mix, and it's really going to be one of Putin's people in there?
That's 100%. What it
What
sounds like. Yeah. Or American. I mean, we don't know, but that's what Zelensky's holding on with fingernails right now, right? And he doesn't want to let go of power. Look, he's got like a couple of McMansions down here in Miami. He could easily hide out here if he wanted to.
We don't want him. We don't want him.
Look, it seems, and then this is a larger issue, but it seems to me like a lot of Democrats knew when Kamala Harris lost that they were lost not just for one, but possibly 2 election cycles. So they're all trying to find other things. And a lot of them are trying to be MAGA now, which I laugh my ass off because it's like, wait, hang on. You worked for Biden or you helped him on his campaign. And then the day after Kamala loses, you're now MAGA, but that's what's happening. You see it left and right.
Angie, Kamala tried to be MAGA.
What?
During the election. Remember, all of a sudden she was adopting no tax on tips.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one other, I forget what it was. She even tried it. They know they're getting their butts beat legitimately, and they have no message.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind them getting on board with MAGA at all. Why not? I mean, if you are in office and you are making, and you want to be what do I want to say? Like a Fetterman, get on board with it. Start making policies, make something forward, something that is going to be voted on, that's going to benefit all of the people in your state. You're going to look like a damn hero that you can reach across the aisle. If we're talking tariffs, then get on board with tariffs. If we're talking pigs getting sent over to China so they can come back here in nice little styrofoam packages, get on the board with ending that. So I don't mind them going MAGA a little bit. Politicians are going to go with the breeze anyhow. And hopefully it doesn't, they're not pissing into the wind.
I don't know why you don't package pigs in plastic little trays in North Carolina. Like I don't get that. It's such a
I'm all about the pigs
concept
today.
Hey,
I'm all about
right
the pigs
now, they're
today.
getting ready to shut down not far from us, a giant Tyson chicken plant.
Another one.
And where's
We've had
that going?
so many shut down.
Where's it going?
China.
Overseas.
Why? What?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Look, I don't understand the economics of it. Clearly, it makes sense to a lot of, Harvard business graduates to do that. Okay, fine. Then we'll figure out another way. We're going to have to do a lot of figuring out this year. There's going to be a lot of pivoting. If you guys are moldable and, you can kind of ride the waves, you're winning. But if you can't, if you're stuck and this is your only way, you're dead. I mean,
agreed.
Say it?
There's so much opportunity, and hopefully people are taking it. Hey, look, it's going to be grow your own.
Yeah, I can see that.
Hey, let's switch topics here, and let's talk about the left-wing libtards' biggest hypocritical move yet, and that is a tax on Tesla.
What?
A year and a half ago.
Tax on Tesla?
A tax.
The cars.
A tax. Okay.
A tax on Tesla. A year and a half ago, the libtards were in love with Elon. They loved Tesla. He was saving the planet. Now, all of a sudden, when he gets involved with the Trump organization and they start looking at the books, all of a sudden, all these tree huggers are burning down Teslas and Tesla dealerships. And, one guy punched a woman in the mouth through her car window that had a baby because she was driving a Tesla. This is not insane. And it's coming from the people who were in love with him to start with. Yeah. Eileen, what's your thought on this one?
Are we really fucking surprised that this is what's happening? I mean, this is...
No, that's the worst part. No.
Right. I mean, this has been going on since Trump's first election. Is, if they liked something back in the day, they dislike it now. Anything that MAGA touches, they dislike. So I'm not surprised. It's a real issue that this guy is got these death threats, terrible death threats. His family's got death threats. The people that are attacking these Teslas and these driving a woman getting punched in the face, these are their fellow Democrats that thought that they were doing a great job. And we've got, she's not a Democrat, but she's a definite Bernie fan up here in our tiny little mountain. And she was one of the first people to have gotten a Tesla, an electric car. So happy with it, And she's just a quiet person who was bullied for years in high school. And now she's going to get bullied because she has a Tesla by the very people that were happy that she had a Tesla to begin with. This is so ridiculous. I mean, it's just a state of the Democrats at this point. They don't have a leader. If they don't believe in something, they'll believe in anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's a question, Angie. Before you go, here's a question I want you to ponder and see if you can put some light on this. What would happen if one of these libtards got out of the car, pounded, painted, whatever, somebody else's car, threatened them, tried to reach through the window and grab them, and they got shot and killed?
And what? And they got shot and killed?
Shot, and the driver of the Tesla shot and killed them.
Yeah, it depends on what state. Here in Florida,
North Carolina,
right? In North Carolina, you could do it.
Here,
self-defense. Yeah, no, I mean, if you're attacking my personal property, I'm going to come after you. That's how it goes. And I'll use whatever weapon I have to protect myself and my family. So I think that those laws still apply. What's more sinister here is that we're hearing now today that there might be a DOJ investigation as to who was organizing these protesters, these vandalizers, and it's organized. And we see that it is organized. And we are now learning that if you make a video while you are damaging a Tesla, you got paid for it. Who was
Oh,
paying for it? And it's you're gonna see the NGOs, you're gonna see this, you're gonna see kind of middlemen and frontmen. Then you're gonna start peeling back layers and seeing who is actually behind all this. Now,
You mean
I
George Soros?
and that's likely who they're investigating, Alex and
Correct.
George Soros. Um,
Correct.
will they be part of the web? Well, I think they're too clever to get caught, but maybe, hopefully.
If they track the money, they may get him.
No, I don't. I think these guys are way too smart. It's going to be washed at least 17 times through various fake companies
Probably.
and fake organizations. And it'll be given out in cash to certain people. Who knows? Like things happen. There's ways of doing it. And even even if you find that the very origins is the Soros family, they can deny it. I thought I was giving money to an NGO for green power. Like who knows? Right?
well, and they got
Right.
practice during 2020.
Right.
That's the
All
other
right.
thing. Yeah, absolutely.
We're
We
running
don't.
out of time, so we're going to get
Oh,
to
we
our
are out of
last
time.
subject.
Woo.
We're going to get to our last subject. We're going to
Okay.
discuss about immigrants coming into the United States and bringing something to the table when entering the United States, like our forefathers had to do. My grandfather came from Italy. He had to have a sponsor. He had to have a job. He had to have a skill, which was bricklaying. Eileen, believe it or not, Angie, actually has all the paperwork from her grandmother who came over from Ireland. I'm talking the job,
Hmm.
the priest letter, recommending. Eileen, take this away because you know what you got at your grandma's.
Now you're going to make me think. She has a letter from a priest stating that she's a good Catholic and goes to church and very devout. She has a letter from
Well, you have it now.
her. Well, I have it right. She has a letter stating that she's an upstanding citizen. She has another letter that states that she has a skill. My father, I'm first generation American, and my father, when he came here, he had to have a sponsor. My grandmother on my mother's side also had to have a sponsor. They both had to have skills. My father had to have a skill. Trying to think. I don't have any of my father's stuff, but more of my grandmother's stuff. But there's a list of a slew of things, health tests. I'm trying to think of you put me on the spot for a moment there. Just everything that states that the sponsor had to be. She had to work as an indentured servant for 7 years before she could be released from her contract and actually be an American or whoever it was that she could apply for American citizenship.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of information that she had, things that she had to do. Same with my father. I mean, him the same way. He happened to be in the, Army, Royal Canadian Army. I'm Canadian. Oh, here we go. Tariffs and they should be the 51st state and all, but but he had that, but again, he had to have a sponsorship or a sponsor, and which was an aunt or an uncle or something along those lines, and he had to have a skill, and he was an electrician in HVAC. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some good, there's some bad to it.
Yeah, no,
Angie,
I
if
mean
I
that's
may,
not too
if
far.
I may ask, what about your family?
Yeah, my father came in, I believe, on a student visa. My grandparents came in, I don't know, but I know that they took very menial job. My grandmother, uh, my family's from Hong Kong, and I don't know how they got here, by boat, by plane. It was so long ago. But when they got here, my grandfather on my mother's side was a chef for many, many years. Amazing food, like to the point where the girls didn't learn how to cook because he just made such good food. So my mother doesn't know how to cook. I don't know how to cook. Like we're just like takeout people now because like we just got fed so well. My grandmother was a seamstress. And again, by the time I was around, they were all retired and just like living happy, senior lives. So it's interesting, but my father came in on a aerospace engineering, what is it called? Not contract. What is it called? A student visa, scholarship, and he did very well. He was not an aerospace engineer, but he did very well with it. We always called him like the rocket scientist, right? And yeah, that's how we came in, and then I was born. So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, this is the question on this: is what is wrong with our country going back and requiring people who come into this country and want to become American to go through that, to have a skill, to have a job, so we're not flipping the bill for them and their families?
Oh man, that's a deep one. Look, I really think that there's a deep question here. We have at least 10 million people who've crossed over the border I don't know, since the Biden administration. We're not going to get all of them. Some of them are here to stay. I think we should actually start considering a legal pathway to citizenship that doesn't require just handouts and freebies and visa cards and phone cards and all that stuff. Like there still is a program where if you, for example, join the military for X amount of years, that then you have an opportunity to become naturalized. You serve your country. And I know that's not a very popular one because we haven't vetted everyone who came in, right? So I get that.
Right.
That's a security concern. I don't know if there's a way of doing it in a way where we could allow that to be possible. Another example would be, and maybe this is not a great one, but some of the government jobs that are needed. I just find like we're sort of smart. We could probably figure out what to do, but I just don't see a reality where you're just going to be able to ship everyone back. Right. I'd love to think that we have those talking points, but there are just some things that are just realistic and what's not realistic. And I think that if you offer people an actual pathway to citizenship, and that's something that's doable, that also benefits our needs, I think that's a good thing.
That doesn't take 10 years. It also takes a very long time. I remember Anna, my grandmother, she married in 1931, had a child. No, take that back. She married in 1930, had a child in 1931. She never became a citizen until late 60s, probably actually maybe mid or early 60s. I don't think that she had become a citizen much before me being born, and I was born mid 60s. My father never became a citizen, always had a green card his entire life. So although he married and had 6 children here in this country. So, it takes a long time. It's a bureaucratic nightmare to become a citizen.
That's my husband.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
No, I did not get the flag yet. I haven't checked my mail yet. I haven't checked my mail yet. So Butch and Eileen were kind enough to send my husband a flag when he was naturalized a few months ago, and it's just been a farce because of pretty much me that we haven't received.
We got it back. We got it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sent it again.
It was returned.
Man.
All right, ladies, we're out of time. It was a fun show tonight.
Yeah.
And I thank you both for being here. We got to do it again. This panel right here, I think
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
it's always a good show with the three of us. It really is.
We work. We
We hit
work.
some very important topics for our country tonight, with some different perspectives, and I think both of your views and input were excellent, and I look forward to doing this again. And I hope anybody watching enjoyed it. And this is America at Play, and we're out.